This is the final update of Fortnite Chapter 6, Season 2. Here's everything that just changed. It's always interesting when we reach the tail end of a Fortnite season. These final updates aren't usually about game-breaking surprises. They're about setting the stage. And that's exactly what we got here. A few returning items, some tweaks to the loot pool, and a slow build toward what looks like a narrative-heavy mini-event this weekend. Let's start with what just got unvaulted, and why not all returns are worth celebrating. First up, the Rocket Ram. Back from Chapter 4, Season 4, and honestly, not much has improved. In fact, in some ways, it's even more limited than before. The Rocket Ram now comes with just 10 uses, down from what we had previously, and once you launch, you're locked into that animation until landing. That alone makes it hard to recommend as a mobility tool, especially when you compare it to the rocket drill, which not only offers more directional control, but also a quicker response time. There's also that frustrating delay before activation, which completely kills its viability in reactive combat situations. So while it might still be fun to blast someone midair or catch them off guard, it's more of a gimmick than a reliable option right now. In my experience, it's more satisfying to counter than to actually use. You see someone take off, you just track them in the air and wait. Easy punish. Not a great look for something meant to enhance movement. Now, let's talk about the business turret. Another returning item that sounds better on paper than it plays in practice. It automatically targets and fires at nearby enemies once placed, kind of like a low-budget version of Iron Man's auto turret. But the real issue here is speed. The tracking is just too slow to matter in most live combat scenarios. Damage output is also weak. It's chip damage at best, more of a distraction than a threat. The only time I've seen it actually contribute meaningfully is during vault fights, where everyone's boxed up and distracted. But even then, you're sacrificing space and time to deploy something that's probably just going to get ignored or broken instantly. There's some novelty here, sure, but it's not something you plan around. And that's the problem. It doesn't feel like it deserves a slot in your inventory unless you're really trying to get creative. Moving on, we've got a mini event brewing, and this one's already picking up traction. It's expected to go live this Saturday and seems to tie directly into next season's Star Wars theme. The most obvious sign is the portal activity happening around magic mosses, subtle effects, growing audio cues, and some strange visual changes around the area. Epic hasn't officially confirmed the full scope yet, but all signs point to this being a setup event, a narrative bridge between the current season and what's coming next. These types of events don't usually bring major gameplay shifts, but they do carry a lot of lore weight. If you've been tracking Fortnite's storytelling lately, you know they've been leaning more into cinematic transitions. I'll likely have a follow-up video on Friday once details get confirmed, but for now, just keep an eye on that portal. It's definitely leading somewhere. For those diving into OG mode, there were a few loot pool updates. Nothing groundbreaking, but worth noting. Added back in are Clingers, Portaforts, C4, the LMG, Heavy Shotgun, Blue Pump, and the Grey Tac. Meanwhile, smoke grenades have been pulled again. It's a solid refresh, but I'll be honest, I don't usually cover OG mode in depth since it's more nostalgia-driven than meta-defining. Still, if you're a fan of chaos or just want to relive some old-school loadouts, this patch gave you a few more toys to mess with. As for reload mode, zero changes. Loot pool remains untouched, which honestly isn't surprising. Epic's clearly focusing its attention elsewhere right now. Between the mini-event setup and the Star Wars content pipeline, reload's probably on autopilot until after the season turns. So overall, this final update played out pretty much as expected. These end-of-season patches usually aren't about shaking up the game. They're about soft transitions, and that's exactly what we got. The Rocket Ram and Business Turret are interesting throwbacks, but neither feels like a game changer. More like Epic dusting off old assets to pad things out while the real work happens behind the scenes. And yeah, people are split. Some love the return of these items just for the chaos. Others are frustrated they don't stack up to more modern alternatives. Personally, I'd take the rocket drill any day over the Rocket Ram. It just feels smoother, more responsive, and actually useful under pressure. As for the mini event, I'm optimistic. The Star Wars tie-ins usually mean solid production value, and if that portal's any indication, we might be getting a cool lore twist before the next season launches.